All right. What we do here is praise Yahuwah. I'm at a park because it's gorgeous out. Somebody's got a dog leash and some poop there on a table because New York, America, right? I'm getting cooked right now by the sun, which I'm sure my L is going to take care of for me because that's what he does. I'm going to show you the sun. And I'm also going to show you the sun. You know what I mean? Who knows what I mean? Who's out here? Who's out here? A little bit different angle. A little bit different angle. It's out here. Knows that I'm talking about the sun. The son of Yeshua is HaMashiach. The son, Yeshua, who is HaMashiach. Are y'all dizzy yet from all of this? Moving around. Beautiful. Yahuwah is great. We're going to pray. Okay, Father Yahuwah. We love you. We're humbled by you. We gather before you in the greatness and glory of your name. Father, I come also before all these witnesses in the healing of Rodney. His right hand, his 2 fingers, in that the authority of the Son be over his sickness. The Son, your Son, Yeshua HaMashiach. Deep down, I know he believes, and let this be another witness of the truth, of the miracle and the healing power of the one who rose from the dead, Yeshua HaMashiach. I pray in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen. Let me speak the words that you have for this Bible reading, Father, in Yeshua's name. Amen. Okay. All right, folks, what's going on? It's 100 degrees out here, and that's why I'm wearing pants and long sleeve shirt. Praise Yahuwah. We're reading today Nehemiah 12 and 13. We don't have a New Testament reading today, so this could be sub 5 hours. But if it is pro 5 hours, let it be. Back on the coffee, always the water. Y'all need water. You need to hydrate, especially in this heat. I don't know where y'all are. I'm in upstate New York, and we just be cooking for the night. But we're only getting it for 4 days. I'm gonna have the best tan ever that I've ever had. Being at the lake, being in Oklahoma, just being outside more than. Nehemiah chapter 12. And these were the priests and the Levites who came up with Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, and Yeshua, Seraiah, Yeremiah, Ezra, Amariah, Maluk, Hattush, Shekaniah, Rahum, Meremoth, Edo, Ginnathoi, Abiyah, Miamen, Ma'adiah, Bilgah, Shemaiah, and Yeyarib, Yedaiah, Salu, Amok, Hilkiah, and Yedaiah. These were the heads of the priests and their brothers in the days of Yeshua. And the Levites, Yeshua, Benui, Kadmiel, Sherebiah, Yehuda, Mataniah over the thanksgiving, he and his brothers. Babukyah and Uni, their brothers were opposite them for guard duties. And Yeshua brought forth Yehoiakim, and Yehoiakim brought forth Eliashib, and Eliashib brought forth Yoyada, and Yoyada brought forth Jonathan, and Jonathan brought forth Yedua. And in the days of Yoiakim, the priests, the heads of the fathers' houses, were of Seraiah, Meraiah, of Yirmiah, Hananiah, of Ezra, Meshullam, and of Amariah, Yehohanan, of Maliku, Jonathan, of Shebaniah, Yosef, of Harim, Adnah, of Marioth, Helkai, of Edo, Zechariah, of Ginnathon, Meshullam, of Abiyah, Zikri, son of Minyamin, of Moadiah, Piltai, of Bilgah, Shemayua, of Shemaiah, Yehonathan, of Yoyarib, Matanai, of Yedaiah, Uzi, of Salai, Kelai, of Amok, Eber, of Hilkiah, Hashabiah, and of Yedaiah, Nathaniel. The Levites and the priests in the days of Elishib, Yoyada, Yohanan, and Yedua were recorded heads of their fathers' houses, also the priests in the reigns of Dariush the Persian. The sons of Levi, the heads of the fathers' houses, until the days of Yohanan, sons of Eliashib, were written in the books of the Annals. And the heads of the Levites were Hashabiah, Sherebiah, and Yeshua, son of Kadmiel, with their brothers opposite them, to praise, to give thanks, watch opposite watch, according to the command of Dawid, the man of Elohim. Mataniah, and Bakbukia, Obadiah, Meshullam, Talmud. Okay. Father Yahweh, let your Holy Spirit speak through me. In Yeshua's name, Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen. I had to take care of something there. Verse 25, Mataniah, Bakbukyah, Obadiah, Meshullam, Talmud, Akub were gatekeepers guarding at the storerooms of the gates. These were in the days of Yoiakim, son of Yeshua, son of Yotzadak, and in the days of Nehemiah the governor, and of Ezra the priest, the scribe, and at the dedication of the wall of Yerushalayim, they sought out the Levites in all their places, to bring them to Yerushalayim, to perform the dedication with gladness, and with thanksgiving, and with singing, cymbals, harps, and lyres. And the sons of the singers gathered together from the countryside around Yerushalayim, from the villages of the Netophathites, and from the house of Gilgal, and from the fields of Geba, Asmaweth, for the singers had built themselves villages all around Yerushalayim. And the priests and the Levites cleansed themselves, and they cleansed the people, and the gates and the wall. And I brought the rulers of Yehuda up on the wall, and appointed 2 large thanksgiving choirs to go to the right on the wall toward the dung gate. And after them went Hoshaiah and half the rulers of Yehuda, and Azariah, Ezra, Meshullam, Yehuda, Benjamin, and Shemaiah, and Yirmiah, and of the sons of the priests with trumpets, Zechariah, son of Jonathan, son of Shemaiah, son of Mattaniah, son of Micaiah, son of Zakur, son of Asaph, and his brothers Shemaiah and Azarel, Milalai, Gilalai, Ma'ai, Nethanel, and Yehuda, Hanani, with instruments of songs of Dawid, the man of Elohim, with Ezra the scribe before them. And at the fountain gate, and straight ahead of them, they went up the stairs of the city of Dawid, on the stairway of the wall, beyond the house of Dawid, as far as the water gate eastward. And on the other thanksgiving choir went over against them. and I behind them, with half of the people on the wall going past the tower of the ovens as far as the broad wall, and above the gate of Ephraim, and above the old gate, and above the fish gate, and the tower of Hananel, and the tower of the 100, as far as the sheep gate. And they stood still at the gate of the prison. Then the 2 thanksgiving choirs took their stand in the house of Elohim, and I and half of the deputy rulers with me, and the priests Eliakim, Maaseiah, Minyamin, Mikiah, Elyoanai, Zechariah, and Hananiah with trumpets, and Maaseiah, and Shemaiah, and Eleazar, and Uzi, and Yehohanan, and Malchiah, and Ilam, and Ezer. And the singers sang aloud with Yizrahah in charge. And on that day they slaughtered great slaughterings and rejoiced, for Elohim had made them rejoice with great joy. And the women and the children also rejoiced, so that the joy of Jerusalem was heard far away. And on that day some were appointed over the rooms for the stores, for the contributions, for the firstfruits, and for tithes, to gather into them from the fields of the cities the portions required by the Torah for the priests and for the Levites. For Yehuda rejoiced over the priests and the Levites who stood up. Both the singers and the gatekeepers guarded the charge of their Elohim and the charge of the cleansing, according to the command of Dawid and Shalomo his son. For in the days of Dawid and Asaph of old, there were chiefs of the singers and the songs of praise and thanksgiving to Elohim. And in the days of Zerubbabel and in the days of Nehemiah, all Yisrael gave the portions for the singers and the gatekeepers, a portion for each day. And they set apart what was for the Levites, and the Levites set apart what was for the children of Aaron. Okay. So we've got a whole bunch of, these were the priests and the Levites who came up with Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, and Yeshua. These guys. Verses 2-6. Salu, Hilkiah, Amok, Hilkiah, and Yedaiah. These were the heads of the priests and their brothers in the days of Yeshua. And the Levites over the thanksgiving, he and his brothers, verse 8. This is again a lot of documentation and recording, which may come to importance at some point, but for now, I want to know how to serve Yahweh as best as possible. And I want to teach you how to serve Yahweh as best as possible. And there's a little bit of that in this chapter. And Yeshua brought forth Yoakim, and Yoakim brought forth Eliashib, and Eliashib brought forth Yoada. And so these are the guys who are the sons of Yeshua, not Hamashiach, just this priest right here. In the days of Yoakim the priest, the heads of the fathers' houses were of Sariah. In the days of Yoakim the priest, so there's a priest from each of the fathers' houses. And these are them up to 21. The Levites and the priests in the days of Eliashib, Yoyada, Yohanan, and Yedua were recorded heads of their fathers' houses. Also the priests in the reign of Dariush the Persian. The sons of Levi, the heads of the fathers' houses, until the days of Yohanan, son of Eliashib, were written in the book of the Annals of, I think that's Chronicles. And the heads of the Levites were Hashabiah, Sherebiah, and Yeshua, son of Kadmiel, with their brothers opposite them, to praise, to give thanks, to watch, opposite watch, according to the command of Dawid, the man of Elohim. Mataniah, Bakbukia, Obadiah, Meshulam, Talmon, Hakub were gatekeepers, guarding at the storerooms of the gates. These are the guards. These were in the days of Yoakim, son of Yeshua, son of Yotzadak, in the days of Nehemiah the governor, and of Ezra the priest, the scribe. These are Ezra's the high priest, Nehemiah's the governor. And I think this is like, you know, Israel's a state at this point. It's not a nation. And at the dedication of the wall, they finally built the wall, and they're dedicating it. Does not say to Yahuwah, but presumably to Yahuwah, who is Elohim. They sought out the Levites in all their places to bring them to Yerushalayim to perform the dedication with gladness and with thanksgiving, gratefulness, humbleness of heart, and with singing cymbals, harps, and lyres. So gladness and thanksgiving are heart conditions, and singing cymbals, harps, and lyres are expressions of them physically. And the sons of the singers gathered together from the countryside around Yerushalayim, from the villages of the Nephathites, and from the house of Gilgal, and from the fields of Geba, Azwamath, for the singers had built themselves villages all around Yerushalayim. So these guys are just like doing little pop-up cities around Jerusalem, and the sons of the singers are gathered together. Like, imagine a thing that brings people together, right? So like all these fathers come and they're the singers, right? And they're going to go and they're going to sing, and then all their sons are going to be gathered around the city that they're singing in. Like, it said moral support, like generational football players and cheerleaders. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like the term cheerleaders, but like support system. You know what I mean? Like, there is so much that's like to be grateful for here, but like to be expressed, to be duplicated, right? Like this instance of the like the unity among the generations. When was the last time you called your dad or your mother? And the priests and the Levites cleansed themselves, and they cleansed the people and the gates and the wall. Ritual cleansing before a dedication. And I brought the rulers of Yehuda up on the wall and appointed 2 large thanksgiving choirs to go to the right on the wall toward the dung gate, and after them went Hoshaiah and half of the rulers of Yehuda, then Azariah, Ezra, and Meshullam, Yehuda and Benjamin, and Shemaiah and Yirmiah. And of the sons of the priests with trumpets, Zechariah, son of Jonathan, son of Shemaiah, son of Mattaniah, son of Micaiah, son of Zakur, son of Asaph, and his brothers Shemaiah and Azarel, Milali, and Galali, Ma'ai, Nathanael, and Yehuda, Hanani, with instruments of songs of Dawid, the man of Elohim, with Ezra the scribe before them. Ezra the scribe is the composer here, essentially, before them. All these guys have trumpets. They're the orchestra. Leviticus 16 is the Leviticus 16:4, we've read this before. He should put on the set-apart linen long shirt with linen trousers on his flesh, and gird himself with a linen girdle, and be dressed with the linen turban. They are set-apart garments. And he shall bathe his body in water, and shall put them on. And so, yeah, you got to be clean in order to serve the temple. And at the fountain gate, and straight ahead of them, they went up the stairs of the city of Dawid on the stairway of the wall beyond the house of Dawid, as far as the water gate eastward. And the other thanksgiving choir went over against them, and I behind them, with half the people on the wall, going past the tower of the ovens as far as the broad wall, and above the gate of Ephraim, and above the old gate, and above the fish gate, and the tower of Hananel, and the tower of the 100 as far as the sheep gate, and they stood still at the gate of the prison. These are all the gates. On the wall. So this is a thick wall that's holding all these people. The Thanksgiving choir and half the people going past the Tower of Ovens and as far as the broad wall and the above the gate of Ephraim and above the old gate and above the fish gate and the Tower of Hananel and the Tower of the 100 as far as the sheep gate, and they stood still at the gate of the prison. Then the 2 thanksgiving choirs took their stand in the house of Elohim, and I and half of the deputy rulers with me. They're like, so this is the lead up. We've gathered the men. We're getting on the wall. We're taking our stand. And the priests, Eliakim, Maaseiah, Minyamin, Micaiah, Elyoenai, Zechariah, and Hananiah with trumpets. And Maaseiah, and Shemaiah, and Eleazar, and Uzi, and Yehohanan, and Malchiah, and Elam, and Ezer, and the singers sang aloud, with Yizraiah in charge. Now they begin to sing, and on that day they slaughtered great slaughterings and rejoiced, for Elohim had made them rejoice with great joy. And the women and the children also rejoiced, so that the joy of Jerusalem was heard far away. Be joyous. What are the fruits of the Spirit? Patience, joy, love, peace, self-control, mildness, it said in love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, trustworthiness, gentleness, self-control. And on that day, some were appointed over the rooms for the stores, for the contributions, for the first fruits, and for tithes, to gather into them from the fields of the cities and the portions required by the Torah, for the priests and for the Levites. For Yehuda rejoiced over the priests and the Levites who stood up. And now they're appointing people over the rooms for the stores. These are the storehouses that they have, and making sure that they've got responsible people that they can trust. Required by the Torah. This is their guiding factor. This is the only reason that they have knowledge of any of this, is that this is how they want it done. The Torah. Both the singers and the gatekeepers guarded the charge of their Elohim and the charge of the cleansing, according to the command of Dawid and his son Shalomo, according to the command of Dawid and Shalomo his son. They made it known. They did it. For in the days of Dawid and Asaph of old, there were chiefs of the singers and the songs of praise and thanksgiving to Elohim. I'm certain that they had recorded, they said this is in the book of Chronicles, so they knew. In 1223, they said this is in the book of the Annals, meaning the Chronicles. So they had the Chronicles at this point. For in the days of Dawid and Asaph of old, there were chiefs of the singers and songs of praise and thanksgiving to Elohim. And in the days of Zerubbabel and in the days of Nehemiah, all Yisrael gave the portions for the singers and the gatekeepers, a portion for each day. And they set apart what was for the Levites, and the Levites set apart what was for the children of Israel. And that's the chronology there. All Yisrael gave portions for the singers, so the people give the portions for the singers and the gatekeepers, a portion for each day, and they set apart what was for the Levites. The people give it to the singers give it to the Levites, and the Levites give it to the children of Aaron, the ultimate high priests. Goes up. Blessings go down, tithe goes up. This town that I'm in right now is called Stillwater, and I love being in Saratoga because I could grab water, but I don't think in this Stillwater there's still water. I'm right on a river, but I also don't have a life straw, and it's either the Hudson or the Mohawk, but there's three-eyed fish in there, so. And one day I'm going to be drinking it. Lapping my tongue like a dog instead of bowing to drink it. All right. was 5:17 when I started this journey. I don't know what time it is now, but basically, been a while. All right. Now we've got chapter 13. Knew I was gonna have to blow my nose at some point, and that point came. And so this is gonna be an edited together video. We'll see how this comes out. I'm gonna pray again. Oh, Father Yahweh. Blessed be your name. Drive the Holy Spirit through me. From you to Yeshua, to me, down to the people. In Yeshua's name. I also pray for Rodney, again. In Yeshua's name. That he be healed. And become to bear witness of the miracle of Yeshua, who rose from the dead. In Yeshua's name, amen. This man's literally rose from the dead. And like, we doubt that he can do certain things in our life. Man. And like, we're going to side note this because we just talked about the gifts of the Spirit. There's not so much, we didn't hit any enthralling topics in Nehemiah 12. So, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, trustworthiness, gentleness, and self-control. Self-control. How's it going?
How are you?
You're doing good. Reading the Bible. You ever read it?
Working on it, actually.
Are you?
Yes, sir.
Did you start reading it recently?
Yes. The past couple months.
Okay. What brought you to it?
What's that?
What brought you to it?
It's about time.
Okay.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 36.
36? I'm 29. I started 2 years ago.
Okay.
So I grew up Catholic.
It doesn't take me quite that long, but you mind a wet dog?
No, he's not going to bother me.
Okay. You might shake or something.
That's cool. I am recording, just to let you know.
Oh,
It's fine. You're more than welcome to come
Yep.
over. You can sit, and I got another chapter, Nehemiah 13. I don't know where you're at.
I am very close to the front.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You on YouTube at all?
No, I'm not.
Not at all?
Are you?
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm recording for.
Okay.
Reading the word on YouTube. This way people have kind of a reference guide, somebody to read along with.
Yeah.
I got this Bible plan. I live in Clifton Park.
Okay.
And I got this Bible plan from Fruitful Vine, if you've heard of them. And so it's like an everyday, 365 days to read the Bible.
Okay.
So that's what I'm using. So I do the videos every day.
Yeah.
Upload different ones.
Very cool.
So
What's your handle?
Dylan Bibles.
I'm Josh, by the way.
Josh Dylan.
Dylan, nice to meet you.
As well.
Dylan Bibles,
Yeah.
one word?
Yeah. DYLAM Bibles.
Cool.
So
We'll give it a look then.
yeah, you go to church?
We are scoping them out. This is my wife,
What was it? D?
Lee.
Lee. Dylan.
Sorry, I'm smoking a cigarette. I didn't want to get in your space.
I quit smoking 5 months ago. The fact that, thank you. Not without the Father. I did a fast on the Sabbath. I keep the Sabbath. I keep all the Torah and stuff. And did a fast on the Sabbath. I quit smoking weed too. And so, but like cigarette smoke keeps drawing me in. So,
I know, it's horrible.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about it. What do you smoke?
These are American spirits.
They are. What color?
Yellow.
Yellow. Yellow's common. I was like green.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah, that's all. So.
Well, it's nice to meet you.
You too, man.
I'll check you out though.
Definitely. You said you do go to church?
We are looking at churches. Her stepmom is a metaphysical minister in Atlanta.
Okay.
So
I don't know what that
we're
means.
looking at, metaphysics is a different type of religion. It's not necessarily Christianity. I think it's very rooted in Christianity,
Okay.
but it's not necessarily about, naming Jesus God and all that. But we were actually looking at Bacon Hill over here
Okay.
in Schuylerville.
Okay.
So
Cool.
we've communicated with them a couple times, just haven't pulled the trigger yet. So.
And don't be afraid to try, go to a different church every Sunday
Yeah.
for a year until you find the one that you like. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Just, I called the Bible study relationship with the Creator.
Okay.
Because we all have different relationships and we move around until we figure out where He wants us to be, and and I think the most important thing is reading the Word and giving Him the time of our day to read the Word, and also listening to what the Word has to say. So because that's the way that He speaks to us. That's His declaration. So.
Well, good luck, man.
Yeah.
Pleasure to meet you. You too. I'll definitely look you up. All right.
Cool.
Come on, bro.
Nice to meet you. Have a great day.
You too, miss. Take care.
Get that water.
What's that?
Getting that water. It's a little hot out here.
Yeah, I got coffee and water. Okay. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, trustworthiness, gentleness, self-control. Self-control for me, very easy. Very mindset, pizzeria owner. Was in charge. I mean, I've gone through millions in my life. Have not necessarily been the best steward of it, but haven't been the worst steward of it either. I mean, for, somebody my age to have had the type of money that I've had, I definitely didn't, I wasn't on Justin Bieber's level, but I definitely didn't buy a Lambo and go speeding, I wasn't rebellious with it, so to speak. And that is what self-control requires. Having power and staying your power. Gentleness. For me, real good at that as well. Being kind. Nobody wants to be punched in the face. At least not all the time. Sometimes I could use a good ass kicking. This woman was just smoking an American Spirit. Speaking of self-control. Those were my cigarettes since I was 18. The guy who got me my second job, my second pizzeria job. I'd worked construction and as a janitor before that. And this was my second pizzeria job. And he was actually the first guy that I fired. Got me my second pizzeria job, which I call my second job because I never left the first pizzeria job before, when I was doing construction and janitor. I still worked there. And then I left there, went to work at this other pizzeria. Father Yahweh, we're going to pray at the end. Bless Josh and Lee and Rodney. In Yeshua name, amen. He gave me my first American Spirit. Before that, I was smoking clove cigars. And I smoked one a day, one clove cigar a day. Now if I smoke them, they will rip my lungs up. But American Spirit, man, she's sitting there smoking it, and I'm like, bro, that just smells delicious. So if I can self-control myself to not be an addict, because I'd smoke 10 American Spirits every day. At least, give or take one or two. But I didn't think that it was ever too much of a problem. Definitely prevented me from working out. But then I see people like Andrew Tate smoking. Bear still uses nicotine. I'm not a pouch guy. I've tried the Zins. I just like smoking. I like smoking. I like the taste of the cigarette, but I also like the taste of weed, which I don't want the psychological defects of marijuana anymore. But nicotine's a stimulant. So is coffee, But To me, I was trying to not have the chemicals. And then I go to the Shabbat. The guy's like, iced coffee over here. And I'm like, oh, cool. Self-control out the window. This is kind of cathartic, but I'm going somewhere with it. Gentleness. Pet the dog. Man, like, of mice and men is the one that I always think of with this. He pets everything, and he always squishes it to death, you know. And the first time that I cut, I was getting an urge to go to the place that I'd been sent up here to go to. But by following the Spirit, you recognize that you have a destination, which might not be the actual destination. You know, Bear today was talking about point A, point B, or yesterday on Patreon, which you guys should acquire, subscribe to. Point A to point B. Point B isn't always the destination, per Yahuwah. Point B might just be where you want to go. So, started at point A. There was another park up here that I was heading to. Saw this one, saw that that was the one. Just met Josh and Lee. Praise Yahuwah. You have to be able to follow the Spirit. Gentleness is a requirement of that, because I was blasting music and I saw this park and I looked and I was like, nah, the Spirit's not taking me there. I'm listening, you know. I looked at the park as I'm driving by. I'm like, the Spirit's not taking me there. I'm like, how the fuck do I know? Pardon my French. Because I'm over here blasting worship music and I can't hear the Spirit. That F-bomb wasn't very gentle, was it? There's a time. I can't wait to do Ecclesiastes with you. We got a ways. Day 262. 100 days. Almost. So, gentleness. Don't squeeze the puppy too hard. Listen to the Spirit. Follow the Spirit. Don't be erratic. Don't do anything rash. My mom always said I was impulsive. I said, I'm not impulsive. I have great self-control. She said, you will start something and you will expect it to be done the next day. True. I will stay up for weeks, months straight. I don't need coffee. I don't need cigarettes. Give me a task, and that's all I need. A purpose. Yahuwah knows this. He created me. It's dangerous too, though. I don't like being like that. I don't feel that that serves Yahuwah. I don't feel that that is self-control. I don't feel that that's gentleness. It's not impulsive, though, either. Trustworthiness. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Not in my youth. Committed all the sins in my youth. Murder with the heart. Never killed people. Murder with the heart. Looking upon another woman with lust in my heart. The day after I lost my virginity, I grabbed another girl's ass. Stealing. Had to confess that before I could join the Bible study that I was going to. What are the other ones? The Lord's name in vain? Yeah. Had somebody tell me in my teenage years that they'd say all the time, swear to God. And I'd be like, okay, I don't believe in God. Lord's name in vain? Much? Where I'm going? I don't even know where I'm going to. I know the commands. I don't need to look at them. I'm in Exodus 20 right now, but I'm not going to look down. I'm just going to flip back to Galatians. I'm going to keep a thumb there, though. I have no gods before God. Money. Money was God. Money was all I wanted. Money, I thought, was where everything came from, not knowing that God gave out money. Money doesn't grow on trees. Money comes down the stairway to heaven. Money does fall from the sky. Make no carving images. Buddhism had this fat cross, 12 diamonds in it. It was a 1/4 pound of gold around my neck. Back when I was a gangster. Still have diamonds. Still have too many diamonds. I don't know what to do with them. I know Yahuwah wants them. But I don't know in what capacity. I would like to do something with them. They were supposed to go in a bigger than my hand sized Buddha, platinum Buddha with, I have every color of the chakras in diamonds and sapphires. Corundum, as they're called. Diamonds are carbon. I'm also a gemologist. I went to gemology school. I showed you guys my diamond tattoo the other day in my post-workout video, which there will be more of, because I like that amped up feeling. I'd be doing these at night, evening time. Maybe more in the winter. There will be more post-workout videos. Where are we at? Remember the Sabbath? I mean, please. That's the one that nobody keeps. I was raised Catholic. I don't even need to go into that. I didn't start keeping the Sabbath until I was 27? 28. Late 28. March 23rd or 25th, 2020. March 25th, 2023. It's my first Sabbath. Well, I guess the week after, because that was my sister's wedding. Sabbath, honor thy mother and father. Did that pretty well. Never fought with my parents in high school. Not one time. There were times, I mean, they knew I was selling drugs, and there were times where that was disgruntling to them. There were discrepancies in our relationship. Which I guess was disrespecting mother and father because I was not listening to them tell me that I shouldn't. I remember one time my mom asked, I was in the refrigerator, never forget it, grabbing cheese out of the little drawer on the bottom. She goes to me, I'm going to ask you a question. I said, okay. She said, are you selling drugs? I said, maybe. And that was the end of the conversation. She knew. At that point, she couldn't stop it. I couldn't stop it. Respect your mother and father. Thou shalt not covet. Yeah, still want to be a billionaire. Still want to be... I want to run the world. It's not covetousness, though. I'm willing to share. I just think I could do a better job than the people are doing right now. And I know it's because I have a heart for Yah. Let's see, what do we got left? You have no gods before me. Make no carven image. Don't take the Lord's name in vain. Remember the Sabbath. Respect your mother and father. Do not bear false witness. Just told you the maybe story. I wasn't going to tell the truth, but I also wasn't going to lie to her. That was pretty much a good, as good a description of that. I mean, I did lie, bore false witness. I didn't do it. Yeah, we all did that. Human nature. Easy. Sometimes I really didn't do it. And I'd take the rap for it anyway. Because I didn't care. I could take the punishment. What are you going to do? Don't bear false witness. Don't murder. I had this terrible tendency of just getting rid of people out of my life. I could just, whatever. Had a buddy steal my conditioner one time. And the day I found out, like, I got to prove that it was him, I was like, all right, we lived together. I was like, all right, I'm moving out. And I am done with our friendship. And he humbled himself. Still didn't tell me the truth, but he was very, very humbled about the value of our friendship, which is a lesson in itself. Because I know too, I was able to forgive him. I love him very much. But I know how forgiveness works. I needed to forgive him. Yeshua forgave me. Yah forgave me. Thanks, Yeshua. Steal, murder, false witness, talked about. Covet. And adultery, talked about that. Hit all the 10 commandments under trustworthiness. Goodness. I am very good. Call no man good, but your Father in the heavens. That's why we walk like Yeshua, in order that we be good. Good teacher. Kindness, not niceness. Niceness is taking the crap out. Kindness is never putting it in. Quote the Kind Bar commercial, but how applicable to kindness. That's very true. You're nice if you just do away with what you're not supposed to be doing. You're kind if you recognize how wrong it is in the first place. Patience. The point of this sermon, the point of this dissertation, patience. There is I prefer peace, because if you want patience, you're going to be waiting for a long time. See what I did there? The patient can wait in a line that has no end. Patients are long-suffering. My patience is found in peace and joy of goodness and kindness, required for the accomplishment of the will of YHWH Elohim. And what I mean by that is that I can be patient when I know that I'm doing something that I'm supposed to do. Like if I'm talking to somebody who's disabled, I can be patient. But I can't do it for very long. You know, like I can wait for, I can be patient in communication with somebody who is deaf, right? Like we can play and point and like the paper, the book, you know, what are you looking for? You know, I can do all that. But patience is a large boot. Stand up and enjoy it. Peace and joy. Peace is knowing that Yahweh will come through. And joy first thing that comes to mind is entertaining myself while doing the commands of Yahweh. But the joy is truly the adoration of accomplishment for Yahweh. The fact that you get that feeling in your heart when you do something for Yah. When you know that Yahweh smiled upon you today, that is joy. And you feel full by that. And if you've ever fasted, you know that feeling. If you've ever had a really good day with Yah, I mean, I am, what's today? June something? 6 months without porn. I am 5 months without smoking. I am, 4 months, 4.5 months without smoking. 5 3/4 months without porn. I am working to get all the crap out of my life. And we don't realize how much we're being force-fed BS each day. And when you go be around people like the 12 tribes who have no phone, who have nothing, no phones, no computers, no TVs, no news, they split all the work and split all the jobs up. And you go be around people like the Mid-Vermont Fellowship group that I was with this weekend. And you go be around people in Barnsdall with you're sleeping on wrestling mats with people who just lost everything in their tornadoes from a tornado. You go be around those people and you don't have time for bullshit. There you begin to appreciate the true nature of Elohim. And that joy just fills your heart. And there is a come down. You come home and you come from, you drive back across the country and you're like, what now? What now? You're freaking out. You're just feeling so I want to say unfulfilled, but once you get that fullness, once you're fully filled up, you can't inflate anymore. The balloon's got to let the air out. And once you start letting that air out, you come down and you come down hard. And if any of you have done drugs, been addicts, come down is like nothing. There's no getting away from it. Because I don't know, I never slept my come downs off. I was a lot of the times that I did harder drugs, I would do Molly and then go to work hours later. I'd stop doing Molly at 4 or 5 in the morning and be up at 9 o'clock. Go to work 13 hours. Fortunately, was smart enough not to continue bringing not to bring Molly to work and continue doing drugs throughout the day. But come down's hard, and stuff like that I worked my way through it, working through the come down of Molly, working through, never took a day off, never called in sick my whole life. 15 years of work. Called in sick one time to a guy that I was working for because he just had a daughter, and that was after I closed the pizzeria. So, I don't know, maybe March this year, first time I ever called in sick. And Bear was actually sick on the same day, and I was contemplating, I'm like, I'll go, I don't care. And then Bear put up a Patreon post and he's like, staying home sick today. And I'm like, all right, yeah, sorry, Bear, that you had to get sick to punch me in the face. But I think you've taken a lot more hits than you know that you've taken for me. And so publicly, thank you. That's why I support all your ministries, because people see the works of your hands in Caleb House and in Grindstone, and they watch your videos about demolishing your demolishing houses and saving kids and rescuing kids. And I hear things like you waking up in the middle of the night to pray. And I know why. Praise Yahweh. That was very cathartic. Thanks for listening, and I hope that somebody got something out of that. I don't do that enough, and that's really speaking from my experiences. At 29, I'm quite experienced in a lot of things. A lot of the world's troubles. A lot of the world's worldliness troubles. Praise Yahweh. Thank you, Yahweh, for getting that out. And even that is something that Yahweh needed done. There's joy in doing it. I became fulfilled in doing it. And now I feel like I'm emptied again immediately. Nehemiah 13. On that day was read from the book of Moshe in the hearing of the people, and in it was found written that an Ammonite and Moabite should not come into the assembly of Elohim forever, because they had not met the children of Israel with bread and water, and hired Balaam against them to curse them, although our Elohim turned the curse into a blessing. And it came to be, when they had heard the Torah, that they separated all the mixed multitude from Israel. And before this, Eliashib, the priest, having authority over the storerooms of the house of our Elohim, was a relative of Tobiah, and he had prepared for him a large room, where previously they had stored the grain offerings, the frankincense and the utensils, and the tithes of grain, the new wine and the oil, which were commanded to be given to the Levites and the singers and the gatekeepers, and the contributions for the priests. But in all this, I was not in Jerusalem. For in the 32nd year of Artashashta, sovereign of Babel, I came to the sovereign. And after some days I asked leave from the sovereign to return. And I came to Jerusalem, and learned of the evil which Eliashib had done for Tobiah, in preparing a room for him in the courts of the house of Elohim. And it was very displeasing to me. Therefore I threw all the household goods of Tobiah out of the room. And I commanded them to cleanse the rooms. And I put back into them the utensils of the house of Elohim with the grain offerings and the frankincense. And I learned that the portions for the Levites had not been given them, for each of the Levites and the singers who did the work had gone back to his field. Then I contended with the deputy rulers and said, Why is the house of Elohim forsaken? And I gathered them together and set them in their place. And all Yehuda brought the tithe of the grain and the new wine and the oil to the storehouse, and I appointed as treasurers over the storehouse Shelemiah the priest, and Sadok the scribe, and Pedaiah of the Levites. And at their hand was Hanan, son of Zakur, son of Mattaniah, for they were reckoned trustworthy, and it was on them to distribute to their brothers. Remember me, O my Elohim, concerning this, and do not wipe out my loving commitments that I have done for the house of my Elohim and for its charges. In those days I saw Yehuda in those treading wine presses on the Sabbath, and bringing in sheaves, and loading donkeys with wine, grapes and figs, and all kinds of burdens, which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. So I warned them on the day they sold food. And men of sword dwelt there, bringing in fish and all kinds of goods, and sold them on the Sabbath to the children of Yehuda and in Jerusalem. Then I contended with the nobles of Yehuda, and said to them, What evil matter is this that you are doing, profaning the Sabbath day? Did not your fathers do the same, so that our Elohim brought all this evil on us and on this city? Yet you bring added wrath on Israel by profaning the Sabbath. And it came to be, when the gates of Jerusalem were shaded before the Sabbath, that I commanded the doors to be shut, and commanded that they should not be opened till after the Sabbath. And I stationed some of my servants at the gates, so that no burdens would be brought in on the Sabbath day. And the merchants and sellers of all kinds of wares spent the night outside Jerusalem once or twice, and I warned them, and said to them, Why do you spend the night around the wall? If you do so again, I lay hands on you. From that time on, they came no more on the Sabbath. And I commanded the Levites that they should cleanse themselves, and they should come guarding the gate to set apart the Sabbath day. Remember me, O my Elohim, concerning this also, and pardon me, according to the greatness of your love and commitment. In those days, I also saw Yehudim who had married women of Ashdod, Ammon, Moab, and half of their children spoke the language of Ashdod, and could not speak the language of Yehudah, but spoke according to the language of one or the other people. Then I contended with them, and cursed them, and struck some of them, and pulled out their hair, and made them swear by Elohim, saying, You do not give your daughters as wives to their sons, nor take their daughters for your sons or yourselves. Did not Shalomo, sovereign of Israel, sin because of them? Among the nations, many nations, there was no sovereign like him, who was beloved of his Elohim. And Elohim made him sovereign over all Israel. Even him foreign women caused to sin. Should we then hear of your doing all this great evil, trespassing against our Elohim by marrying foreign wives? And one of the sons of Yoyada, son of Eliashib the high priest, was a son-in-law of Sanballat the Horonite, and I drove him from me. Remember them, O my Elohim, because they have defiled the priesthood and the covenant of the priesthood and of the Levites. Thus I cleansed them from all that is foreign, and I appointed duties to the priests and the Levites, and each in his task, and for the wood offerings, and for the first fruits at appointed times. Remember me, O my Elohim, for good. Wow. Okay. We're going to give a prayer. We got deep today. So we're going to give a prayer on our knees. With our face in the dirt. Father Yahuwah, let all people free themselves from their bindings of their sins by confession to you of their sins. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, and also confess his name. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray. Amen. Got some bikers coming up. See if they read the word. All right. We've got Nehemiah. How's it going? Nehemiah 13. On that day was read from the book of Moshe in the hearing of the people, and in it was found written that an Ammonite and Moabite should not come into the assembly of Elohim forever, because they had not met the children of Israel with bread and water, and hired Balaam against them to curse them, although our Elohim turned the curse into a blessing. What's going on? Blessings. Yeah. Praise Yahuwah. I've been looking for this witness, and the beggar just turned around and left, because must not be fans of the word. Not the first time. I've cleared out whole restaurants. I've told you all this. I've cleared out whole restaurants. Usually the people that can smile at me and sit and talk to me are the ones who love God. And that guy just stared at me, and his partner looked back at me and wanted nothing to do with me. And so probably not men of God. There was a beautiful young blonde this morning that smiled at me, who I was not paying attention to, and I should have been, because she probably loved God. And so I'm sorry to you, little young blonde. Okay. We are looking for, and by little, I don't mean child, I mean some sort of college student, but like physically small, physically tiny. Which has always been my weakness. If you know any little young blondes, send them my way. They gotta love Yah too. They should love Yah. Should at least know Yah. Okay. All right. I was looking for this when we were in Ezra as well. And here, look. I don't want no Ammonites or Moabites. I want a true woman of Yah. Okay. We were looking for this in Ezra 9, the intermarrying. And because they did not meet you with bread and water on the way when you came, Deuteronomy 23, 3. An Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter the assembly of Yahweh, even a 10th generation of them shall not ever enter the assembly of Yahweh. Because they did not meet you with bread and water on the way when you came out of Mitzrayim, and because they hired against you Balaam, son of Beor, from Pethor of Aram, Naharaim, to curse you. But Yahweh your Elohim refused to listen to Balaam, and Yahweh your Elohim turned the curse into a blessing for you, because Yahweh your Elohim loves you. Do not seek their peace, nor their good, all your days forever. Do not loathe the Edomite, for he is your brother. Do not loathe the Mitzrite, because you are sojourner in his land. The children of the 3rd generation born to them do enter the assembly of Yahweh. When the camp goes out against your enemies, then you shall guard yourself from every evil matter. When there is any man among you who is not clean because of an emission in the night, then he shall go outside the camp. Let him not come into the midst of the camp. Okay, and that's a separate issue. But a very real issue. 4. It's literally in the Torah. For men who don't have little young blondes and also don't watch porn anymore. Deuteronomy 23:9. 10. Deuteronomy 23:10. Okay, so I've been looking for that for a while. The 10th generation of them shall never enter the assembly of Yahweh. This does not say specifically the house of Elohim. This does say the assembly of Yahweh. So you do not be part of the assembly. This red Jeep was here earlier, and they left, and now they're back. And so the this is about the intermarrying, which I was looking for in Ezra 9, because that's where they're intermarrying. And so we see that again. And I was also wondering if this was written before, when there was Nehemiah 10:30, and that we would not give our daughters as wives to the people of the land, nor take their daughters for our sons. Okay, and then there also is, and that if the people on the land bring wares or any grain to sell on the Sabbath day, we would not buy it from them on the Sabbath or on a set-apart day, and we would forego the 7th year and the interest of every hand. And then we see all of these come up in Nehemiah 13. All right, so that's where it said, verse 1, it was found written that an Ammonite and Moabite should not come into the assembly of Elohim forever, because they had not met the children of Israel with bread and water, and hired Balaam against them to curse them, although our Elohim turned the curse into a blessing. And it came to be, when they had heard the Torah, that they separated all the mixed multitude from Israel. So there are people, they've been intermarrying, and there are people that are mixed in among Israel, Moabites and Ammonites. And before this, Eliashib the priest, having authority over the storerooms of the house of our Elohim, was a relative of Tobiah. And he had prepared for him a large room, where previously they had stored the grain offerings, the frankincense, and the utensils, and the tithes of grain, the new wine, and the oil, which were commanded to be given to the Levites, and the singers, and the gatekeepers, and the contribution for the priests. So not only do they have Ammonites and Moabites in Israel, which Nehemiah 4:3, and Tobiah the Ammonite was beside him, and he said, whatever they build, if a fox should climb on it, he shall break down their stone wall. And so that should have been my cue, that he was an Ammonite, but that is the Tobiah that Eliashib, the priest, having authority over the storerooms, is a relative of. And so basically they're like, what? This guy's in the house of Elohim. And he had prepared for him a large room. Eliashib appearingly prepared for Tobiah a large room where previously they had stored the grain offerings, the frankincense, and the utensils and the tithes of grain and new wine, which were commanded to be given to the Levites and the singers and the gatekeepers and the contributions for the priest. But in all this, I was not in Jerusalem, for in the 32nd year of Artashasta, sovereign of Babel, I came to the sovereign. And after some days, I asked leave from the sovereign to return, and I came to Jerusalem and learned of the evil which Eliashib had done for Tobiah, in preparing a room for him in the courts of the house of Elohim. So Nehemiah is writing that he, although witness to this, is not there overseeing it, couldn't have stopped it, basically. And so he is absolving himself, but also taking responsibility in that he's writing this. He's making the confession of it and how he writes it. RIGHT. But he's writing about it. WRITING. There's something going on with them, and I don't know what. They need marriage counseling. Probably way too late for coffee at this point. Try and stop drinking it around 7. But then again, also, who knows? I got some videos. I'm also on Rumble. I don't know how Rumble links work, but maybe I'll put the Rumble link, and I'm going to get on Twitter, too. Around the end of July, the end of August, the end of September. End of September. We're getting into that party time of America. I don't know. I haven't seen too many riots or protests. I keep getting Joe Biden ads to donate, which is hilarious because, like, I thought he got millions from Soros. I thought he was good. And it was very displeasing to me. Therefore, I threw all the household goods of Tobiah out of the room. And I commanded them to cleanse the rooms, and I put back into them the utensils of the house of Elohim with the grain offering and the frankincense. So they've got this storeroom in the temple, and Tobiah's like, yo, can I stay here, Eliashib? And Eliashib's like, yeah, Dad, you can. Dad being father-in-law or whatever relative, Uncle Tobiah or whatever, brother-in-law, whatever relative he is. So Nehemiah comes back, sees this, and he's like, what are you doing? And he puts back the utensils, the grain offering, and the frankincense. Father Yahweh, if there's interaction to be had there, let me know. Or make it so. Okay. And I learned that the portions for the Levites had not been given to them, for each of the Levites and the singers who did the work had gone back to his field. So this whole thing's just crumbling at this point. Like, Nehemiah goes back to Artashasta, sovereign of Babel, and basically Eliashib, the priest, starts renting out rooms. He's got an Airbnb going on in the house of Yahweh, and he's letting all kinds of immigrants in, and now Nehemiah comes back. He says this party's over. And he also realized that they weren't even paying for the Airbnb. They were giving it away for free. And so the portions of the Levites had not been given them. And so the Levites aren't even being given what they used the storeroom, and now they're not collecting. They're like, oh yeah, we got it. We got enough. They just stopped collecting for the Levites. And the singers who did the work had gone back to his field. Then I contended with the deputy rulers and said, why is the house of Elohim forsaken? And I gathered them together and set them in their place. That's the word. Why is the house of Elohim forsaken? And I gathered them together and set them in their place. Let that be a lesson. How do you reprove somebody? Gather them together and set them in their place. This is the law. This is what you got to know. And all Yehuda brought the tithe of the grain and the new wine and the oil to the storehouse. Now they start paying up again. Nehemiah's back. Governor's in charge. What's going on here? Get your stuff back in line. And now we're doing it. And I appointed as treasurers over the storehouse Shelemiah the priest, and Sadok the scribe, and Pedaiah of the Levites, and at their hands was Hanan, son of Zakur, son of Mattaniah, for they were reckoned trustworthy, and it was on them to distribute to their brothers. Remember me, O my Elohim, concerning this, and do not wipe out my loving commitments that I have done for the house of my Elohim and for its charges. And so he appoints new treasurers, and kicks Eliashib out and starts praying to Yahuwah. Remember me, O my Elohim, concerning this, and do not wipe out my loving commitments that I have done for the house of my Elohim and for its charges. I also wonder... Yeah, okay. I was going to say, it seems like some of these prophets don't use the name of Yahuwah. But like we see it in Nehemiah 1 and 4. And so they are still using it. Because like Jews today won't say it, you know. So like they don't say the name of Yahuwah, which in itself is like, there's power in the name. In whose name do you do this? In those days I saw in Yehuda those treading wine presses on the Sabbath and bringing in sheaves, and loading donkeys with wine, grapes, and figs, and all kinds of burdens, which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. So I warned them on the day they sold food. Those treading the wine presses on the Sabbath. So people are starting to work on the Sabbath, and they're bringing in loads on the Sabbath. They're making the donkey work. So I warned them on the day they sold food. Stop doing this, he says. He warns them. And yeah. They're doing all kinds of simple failures. And men of Sor dwelt there, bringing in fish and all kinds of goods, and sold them on the Sabbath to the children of Yehuda and in Jerusalem. There is no hiding anything from Yahweh. And if you think you're going to hide it, you're going to be found out by the governor. And then I contended with the nobles of Yehuda and said to them, "What evil matter is this that you are doing, profaning the Sabbath day? Did not your fathers do the same, so that our Elohim brought all this evil on us and on this city? Yet you bring added wrath on Yisrael by profaning the Sabbath?" And it came to be when the gates of Jerusalem were shaded before the Sabbath that I commanded the doors to be shut and commanded that they should not be opened till after the Sabbath. And I stationed some of my servants at the gate so that no burdens would be brought in on the Sabbath day. So he closes the gates on the Sabbath. That you bring added wrath on Israel by profaning the Sabbath. You know, it's just like when Yeshua cleanses the temple. Sometimes we need Yeshua to come through with a bullwhip and say, hey, here's why this is wrong. And Luke and Matthew are very similar. I am looking for, Father, the place where Yeshua cleanses the temple. And I'm also looking for my temple to be clean. I'm not seeing it because he's not showing it to me. Because obviously my temple is not clean. So, got some scrubbing to do. And maybe we'll see it later on. But for now, we're just going to go back to Nehemiah 13. And we're not going to have that as a witness. Because Yeshua is not cleaning my temple right now. And the merchants and sellers of all kinds of wares spent the night outside Jerusalem once or twice. And I warned them and said to them, "Why do you spend the night around the wall? If you do so again, I lay hands on you." From that time on, they came no more on the Sabbath. So they were like, yeah, that's okay. We'll just wait outside once or twice. And then Nehemiah is like, I'm going to kick your ass. And I commanded the Levites that they should cleanse themselves, and they should come, guarding the gates, to set apart the Sabbath day. Remember me, O my Elohim, concerning this also, and pardon me according to the greatness of your love and commitment. So, basically, the Levites are being held accountable. They should cleanse themselves, and they should come guarding the gates to set the Sabbath apart. So their punishment is that they cleanse themselves and set apart the Sabbath at the gates, being guards. In those days, I also saw Yehudim who had married women of Ashdod, Ammon, Moab, and half of their children spoke the language of Ashdod and could not speak the language of Yehudah, but spoke according to the language of one or the other people, which is just an abomination. So, we need to learn Hebrew. We need to learn to at least speak the Father's language, so. Then I contended with them and cursed them and struck them, some of them, and pulled out their hair and made them swear by Elohim, saying, You do not give your daughters as wives to their sons, nor take their daughters for your sons or yourselves. He's reproving them and teaching them that this is against the Torah, and saying that there is no reason to be doing this. You do not give your daughters as wives to their sons, nor take their daughters for your sons as yourselves. Yeah, Torah. Here's the lesson. Sometimes it's better that way, because things don't work the way that you want them to work all the time. Sometimes you don't get the wife that you want, and it's better that you don't. And sometimes you compromise or you force yourself into these situations, and sometimes it's better just to part ways. Maybe you like his Jeep, and you know that he's not doing what's good and righteous in your eyes and for you. And sometimes you like little young blondes, and you have no filter on their qualifications. Did not Shlomo, sovereign of Israel, sin because of them? Among the many nations there were no sovereigns like him, who was beloved of Elohim, and Elohim made him sovereign over all Israel. Even him foreign women caused to sin. Should we then hear of your doing all this great evil, trespassing against our Elohim by marrying foreign wives? So even Solomon had foreign wives. And if the wisest man on earth was doing this wrong, bad thing, man, we are so stuck in our sins. It's not as bad as we might think it is or might make it out to be. We are very how do you say, liable to be struck with desire that we can't control. And confession is the best way to free yourself from it. And maybe you're not ready for it, but you know that one day But someday, it's going to have to be done. And one of the sons of Yoyada, son of Eliashib, the high priest, was a son-in-law of Sanballat the Horonite, and I drove him from me. Remember them, O my Elohim, because they have defiled the priesthood and the covenant of the priesthood and of the Levites. So he's in 14 saying, remember me, do not wipe out my love and commitment that I have done for the house of my Elohim and its charges, O my Elohim, concerning this. And then in 29 he says, remember them, O my Elohim, because they have defiled the priesthood and the covenant of the priesthood and of the Levites. Remember me, O my Elohim, concerning this, and do not wipe out my love and commitments. Remember them, O my Elohim, because they have defiled the priesthood and the covenant of the priesthood. Thus I cleansed them from all that is foreign, and I appointed duties to the priests and the Levites, each in his task, and for the wood offering, and the first fruits at appointed time. Remember me, O my Elohim, for my good. Please, not for my evil. Remember me for my good, Yahweh. And forgive me for my evil. In Yeshua's name, amen.